Did you know that? Rotting shadows, snake eyes and whispers in the dark are all Abraxas? Abraxas is an ancient mystical being that few have ever heard of. He was depicted with a human body, the head of a rooster, and serpent legs. He was a god above gods, one who stood beyond good and evil. But there is one terrifying story. One day, a man who found a stone engraved with his name started hearing the crow of a rooster every night at 3:33 a.m. In the mirror, he saw behind him a shadow with the head of a rooster. Returning to the story, and the man who heard the nightly crow one day woke up unable to move. At the foot of his bed stood him. Rooster head, serpent legs, glowing eyes. Abraxas reached out his clawed hand and spoke just one word, "Remember." After that, the man disappeared without a trace. Abraxas was seen as both creator and destroyer. His name was used in rituals for power over spirits and time. The sum of the letters in his name is 365, like the number of days in a year, because he ruled over the fates of all people. His rooster head symbolized dawn and power over time, while his serpent legs represented the hidden depths of the underworld. Snakes have always been connected to what lies beneath the earth and within our souls. Creepy story about the witch. There is an ancient story about a witch who carved his name into her own skin to gain the gift of prophecy. Every night she heard the crow of a rooster by her bed. She said she could see everything, how people would die, how cities would fall, and even how one day the entire world would be devoured by a giant shadow with a rooster's head. They say she was found with her eyes missing, and on her eyelids snakes were carved. But who is Abraxas really? Carl Jung wrote that he is above all gods, for within him are united all opposites. Abraxas is the archetype of ultimate truth, a truth that humans cannot endure, because truth is more terrifying than any lie. Creepy story about the ritual. In an ancient book, a ritual was described: to summon Abraxas and ask him for power over one's own fate. At midnight, one had to carve his name into a stone, surround it with 7 snakes, and sacrifice a rooster. One day, an occult scholar in London decided to test this ritual. He carved the name onto black onyx, bought a rooster and 7 snakes. After the ritual, neighbors heard the rooster crow every night. A week later, the scholar was found dead in his laboratory. There were snake bite marks on his legs, and his eyes were eaten out. Written on the wall in his own hand were the words, "I saw Abraxas. He was me and I was him." Abraxas appears in ancient Greek texts as a word of power, capable of protecting a person from any demon, but at the same time, his name could summon one who is stronger than all demons combined. The emperors of Rome wore Abraxas stones. It is said that Marcus Aurelius, before his death, saw in a dream a rooster with serpent eyes, who said, "You are only a part of one day out of 365. Abraxas never called himself a god. He was something greater. Creepy story about the girl and the mirror. A little girl in Switzerland once found an old mirror in the basement of a castle, with the word Abraxas carved into its frame. She played in front of it every day until one day her mother heard her speaking to someone unseen. The girl said, "You don't want to be inside me anymore? You want to come out?" After those words, the mirror shattered, and the girl never spoke again. The psychiatrists wrote, "Catatonia," but on her hand remained a strange birthmark in the shape of a rooster's head with 2 snakes. What if Abraxas is still among us? Maybe he is watching you right now, for within every human there is darkness and light, and he feeds on both. Write in the comments, will you choose power or oblivion? And if tonight you dream of a rooster with serpent eyes, remember that you have already chosen. If you want to hear even more ancient and terrifying stories about gods, demons, and beings that can come to you in your dreams, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's waiting for you in the next video. Because sometimes, one word is enough to change your fate forever. Abraxas,